So starting off at the kind of origin of yourself, where did it all begin in terms of marketing?
Well, a long time ago, I used to work for Yellow Pages before the internet.
Right.
I have to say, probably you don't remember a time before the internet, but there was a time before the internet. And I started off as a salesman there, looking after smaller customers, and ended up helping them with the implementation of the Yale.com website. And they did have an e-commerce arm for a while, which we worked on. And everything in between. So I looked after big plumbers, big roofers, big insurance companies, anything you like, really. Because at the time, that was one of the only places in town for small businesses to advertise, and big businesses did too.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, I think this kind of episode is going to focus a lot on. It could be main contractors or subcontractors in the UK who are looking to grow their company. I
Sure.
think it's going to be aimed at people who are in a position who are doing well, making a lot of money, but as far as their kind of social media and marketing presence goes, they put on the odd job completion photo. They've got a link to the business on Google, but that's it. There's no marketing yet. And kind of throughout this, I just want to maybe lay out a few steps or a few maybe helpful tips to people in that position.
Sure.
So I think starting off, probably a good place to start off is outbound versus inbound marketing. Do you want to touch on that and maybe just describe like the differences between it?
Well, outbound is often you can look at it as a lot of different ways of doing it, but outbound can be just sitting there in front of your laptop, reaching out to people on Instagram one at a time. There's obviously better ways of doing this, but let's start with the basics. Or even on LinkedIn. So if you're a main contractor and you're looking for architects to try and refer you, you can make friends with them on LinkedIn. You know, that's physically doing something. You can join groups on LinkedIn if you want, people to notice who you are, answer questions. Especially trade to trade sort of partnerships and trying to build relationships like that. LinkedIn groups can be a very good way of doing that. Instagram can be good for the end user, for customers themselves, for people with houses and people with projects, simply because people in the UK are quite voyeuristic about other people's houses. So shows like Homes Under the Hammer and Grand Designs, which are at both ends of the scale, get plenty of viewers. People love to see what people are doing. People love to see projects halfway through. We deal with a big basement conversion company down in town, and he does excellent time-lapse videos of these huge things being dug out for swimming pools to be put under rich houses in Chelsea and places like that. And they're mesmerizing. People do love a good time-lapse. So that's a good way of just showing both skill and competency as well as what sort of jobs you get involved in. And you'd be surprised how many people say, well, that's what you're going to do, and they forward it on to their friends. And that can get you both trade-to-trade customers, for want of a better way of putting it, and end users. So Instagram, if you've got good pictures, I mean, people have got no excuse anymore not to take pictures of jobs when they're out and about. They really don't. It can be a pain to get it onto your website, because then you have to sit down and cut the pictures up to the right sizes and then put them on your website. So that's a lot of people don't get to that stage, but it's not hard to clean it up quickly with a couple of filters on your phone and then put it on Instagram or Facebook, is it? It's not really that hard to do that. So at least some guys have been very good. Some guys have got real game on that and are really doing that. But you'll find a lot of working in. You see it. I mean, people knock on my door at home. If there's a tree guy in the street doing some trees, they'll say, look, can I talk to you about yours? They look a bit overgrown. So they're willing to knock on doors and say, oh, we're doing a drive down the road. Can we talk to you about yours? They're willing to do that, which most people would find more sort of harder to do than sitting in front of a computer. But they don't spend the time even putting up pictures, we find. Or one of the worst things we see is people have got a good looking website. They've got the social buttons along the bottom, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. So let's say a client arrives on that and they have a look around your website and say, oh, well, let's click on his Instagram and see what work he's done recently, and you haven't updated it for 6 months. What you've essentially done in that instance is you've unsold yourself to the busy, and they go on to the next one. So if you don't have an up-to-date social media stream of a sort, then that logo shouldn't be on your website, because it's hurting you, not helping you, And we see that as a mistake a lot of the time. But, the basics people should start with, they should get their Google Map, or what we call Google My Business listing, sorted out first. That's the imperative thing you can do, because at least then you've got a good looking listing and people can find you in your own area, and that's a start. But you'd be
So if I was in a position where I've got a company wanting to expand, if we was to make a checklist, so number one, what should be my number one top priority in terms of marketing?
If you've already got a website and it's good and it's up to date and it's fast, I mean, SEO is a whole other subject we can move on to, and it's got good pictures on it. So at least we're showing, testimonials and case studies and good looking pictures. It doesn't matter what you do. You can be a torch on roofer, or you can be a bifold window guy. People like to see pictures of competency. Once you've done that, then the Google listing is the first thing you should do. And there's quite a lot of stuff you can do on there. A lot of the time, people just claim the listing, but they don't put any photos or anything on it. So the listing itself, when people search their area for, I don't know, Builder, Northampton, or, a smaller town, they see just the listing, but the guy that's got the photos and chosen all the right sectors and stuff like that is going to stand out more. The guy that's got the operating hours on there. Most people just claim their listing and then don't do anything with it. Doing your Google listing properly takes a bit of time, but it's definitely the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. So within the Google kind of My Business space, what is your kind of opinion on the pay-per-click section of it?
If you're going to do pay-per-click, you shouldn't do it on the cut-down account they first give you. You should do it on a proper professional account. It's hard to do, so you should start off small, or in the nicest possible way, you should pay a specialist, because it is quite a complex thing. But there are other things you can do in between before you start down the paid road. You can make sure you claim all your listings on all the other platforms, such as, there's millions of them, but the most obvious to people like us in England are Yale.com and Yelp and Thompson's and those. So they call it local citations. So the important thing is there's about at least 40 or 50 good ones that you should claim. They're free 90% of the time. And the main things to do is make sure that if you're going to put your telephone number and address in, it should be in exactly the same format each time. And what I mean by that, without getting too technical, is if you've put George Street, Street, in one, you shouldn't put George Street, St in another one. It should be exactly the same in all of them, because this gives a signal to Google. All these local citation listings give a signal to Google that you're actually real. And if the address is different, it kind of muddies the water a bit on that. So we have a free list on our website people can download with instructions about the fastest way to do that, because we know one of the things people do is they love free advertising. They pass it on to each other, and if you don't, I mean, you can spend a day doing it and it's done, and it not only does it give Google a good signal that you're actually real, so therefore improves your map listings chances of being shown traffic from other places that you wouldn't have got anyway. So local citations is the next step after your Google map listing or your Google My Business listing.
So I know when you're in the process of setting up the Google business, say fresh on Google, a lot of the time it'll ask you for certain keywords, kind of like search or discovery words that people might, find your company with. How important are them, and kind of what is the best way to come up with effective keywords for that?
The answer is they're very important, but the issue is it takes a little bit of thinking to approach them. There's a lot of free tools you can use, from something called Ubersuggest, or Ahrefs has a really good free keyword tool. So for instance, let's say you were in Birmingham and you were a builder in Birmingham. One would have thought builder Birmingham would be the term you'd want to go for, but that would be what every other builder in Birmingham is going for as well. So if you're a builder in, say, Selly Oak in Birmingham, or a smaller part or unknown place, because you've got more chance of being shown for that. So the thing to do is check whether people are typing in builder Selly Oak or loft conversion Selly Oak, or perhaps you should concentrate on the jobs that produce the most money. Arguably what you're trying to do is buy a ticket in a raffle where nobody else has bought a ticket and the prize is really big. That's kind of the principle. And what a lot of people, at Christmas or in the winter, every year plumbers will phone up and say, I want to be top of Plumbers London. And I'm going, well, you should have asked me that 2 years ago, because everybody wants to be top of Plumbers London. And can I ask you, Mr. Plumber, you're in North London, are you really going to go South London for a tap? Probably not. So even if you did by magic rank for the first term Plumbers London on Google, you probably wouldn't want to do half the jobs that came in. Surely boiler repair in your own area, North London, Barnet, Islington, Finsbury Park, whatever, is a better thing to rank for, because A, when you get a job, it's going to be local, and B, if you're in Barnet and you've done jobs in Barnet and I see you, I'm going to go, oh, he's in the same area as me. So if you've got testimonials from people in the same areas I'm living as a potential customer, I'm going to gravitate to you much more than somebody else. So the idea is to start in your own area for the best jobs you can and move your way out. However, there may not be searches for that. So here's a good thought experiment. Which gets more searches on Google? interior designer Hampstead or interior designer London?
Probably the London one, I'd imagine.
You
Oh
would
no,
think
it
so.
would,
And it's
well, probably would be the Hampstead, wouldn't it? If you're an individual looking for somebody, you're going to look more close to your area, aren't you?
the answer is you're probably, it's kind of, if you take, say, North London and Hampstead would get more. London, people would search it, then realise they've probably got too many answers and then drill down to their area. So, for instance,
Yeah.
you know, arguably, even London, we're a nation of villages. We live in areas. We don't, you know, I can live in London all my life and not go to any other parts of London because everything I need is where I live. But so, where do you live yourself?
Over in Huddersfield, well, between Huddersfield and Manchester.
Right. So, if you were searching for a plumber, you'd probably search Huddersfield. If you were searching for an air conditioning company, you might search Manchester because there might be less chance of being enough choice for you in your local area. So, how you search as an individual changes. The geography you search over changes according to the type of job you're looking for. So to bring it back to your point, keywords are really important, but don't just choose the most obvious that get the most searches, because A, everybody else is choosing that, so it means there's a lot of competition, and B, are they really going to help you if you're ranking all over Manchester and you're in Huddersfield? Probably not, because people, let's say you do manage to rank for good terms in Manchester, people are less likely to call you for certain types of jobs. I'm not saying for all jobs, but, you know, people feel comfortable using someone local, especially in the construction industry, I think.
Does that move on quite nicely to SEOs? Then do you think you could probably maybe mention what, for people who listen who don't know what they are, what is an SEO?
SEO means search engine optimization, which means in a sort of crass way, it's about gaming Google to think you're better than the next guy down the road. And you have to start with keywords is a big part of that. You have to start with trying to target keywords that are going to pay for you and going to get you traffic. Again, back to our start local and work your way out. But there may be no searches for air conditioning company Huddersfield, so there's no point in trying to target that either. You know, so you have to do a little bit of work or pay an agency to do that. And then how fast and how well built your site is. Google has something called a mobile first attitude. So even if I'm looking on a really fast on my big screen at home, it will still prioritize sites that work really fast on mobile phones, because it believes, and it's true, most people use their mobile phone to search things. And then, so it gives you more points. For want of a better term, your SEO score goes up if your website is fast and it works very well on mobile phones. But then, you know, if you're a roofer, you know, articles about whether torch-on is better than felt, whether slate is better than tile, those are sorts of things people want answering for, and Google knows that. So if you're constantly adding a blog post about something helpful, that gives you more points over time. It takes work. Everything takes work. Nothing's free, I'm afraid. So what we see a lot of is people, not necessarily smaller companies, but for bigger companies, they tend to do things like, we won an award, or Miss Jones just got promoted, or the managing director is having a golf day. These are all good to show that you're a nice company, but they're not going to help you get any more Google points, you know, for want of a better term, because people aren't really searching that. So if you're going to write something, again, it does boil back to keyword research. You need to write something that people are already typing into Google and searching for. So arguably, sometimes people will put in, how much does it cost to do this? Top 10 things to remember before I move house, you know, those sorts of things. People need help, and if you're providing that, not only does that reflect well on you to the client, it reflects well on you to Google. Having more content, the more content is the next step, because this is all stuff you can do in inverted commas easily, because it's on your website, so you can get someone, a writer, you can do it, you can get someone to do it. After that, off-site search engine optimization is a whole other bag, and we can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. So you mentioned there about, you know, content's good, a lot of content's good. Where's the right balance between like the quality of the post you put out and like the quantity? Because I know some companies who might post every day, but they're not really saying much.
I think if you're just posting general stuff, derivative stuff that's not really interesting on anything, I think it's not adding any value. So people will, if I see something fly by on my Instagram feed or on my Facebook feed every day from you that's not really helping move the conversation on, I'm going to start ignoring you. I'm going to start becoming blind to you in my stream. So we call it a thumb stopper. If you've got something good looking, you can dress it up a bit. Often these days, people, because of the TikTok generation, want to see words on top of the image. So a meme, it's not a meme, but you know what I mean. Something says, we did this great job here, and there's a picture of it, or even a little mini video of that, a reel or something. That is better than just posting rubbish all the time. So too much can be bad, as bad as too little. And then on your blog, it needs to be well thought out content, and it needs to be a bit longer than 400 words, which seems to be the average everybody puts out. So it takes thinking about. My advice to people if they haven't got time to do it themselves, is to find a VA or an agency to help them. If they have got time, is to sit down for a day and just think about a plan of content, not just content. They should think, okay, for the next 6 months, once a month, what should we write? And start there rather than just quick, I'll get a post out because I remember to do one. Have a plan to start with.
Mm-hmm. So for people who are thinking, God, this seems a bit crazy for me. I'm not very tech wise. What do you think is kind of a realistic marketing budget for, let's say, a company who turns over 750k in construction? How much do you think they'd be looking to allocate in terms of, let's just say, the basics of marketing? If they wanted to do a bit of a handover to somebody, what should they kind of be putting aside for that?
Well, your accountant would tell you that you should spend 5 to 10% of your turnover on marketing anyway. So as a marketer, I've obviously got a vested interest in agreeing with that. But in real terms, you should be spending, as a £750,000 turnover company, you should be spending at least £30,000-40,000 a year on marketing. What sort of marketing depends on the niche that you're in. You could be a commercial refit company or a commercial flooring company. So Google Ads might help there, but possibly LinkedIn ads, contractors or people, if you want to be a subcontractor for someone building out a new section in Harrods, then you're going to be looking to target architects or quantity surveyors or something like that. If you're a smaller company, you can spend £600-700 a month, maybe £1,000 a month on Google Ads and get somewhere, because Google Ads is instant gratification. If done properly, it's very hard to do yourself. It looks easy. They make it sound like it's easy, because every time you make a mistake, they make money. And I'm not trying to be down on Google. It's just the technical issues behind platforms like Google and Facebook. They are quite difficult to use. But, we've got a guy that does modular buildings. I suppose you call them garden rooms at the same time, who's spending £600-700 a month. We've got a loft conversion company spending £1,000 a month on Google Ads. And at one point, they got 111 leads in a month. So it does work. It's just got to be done well. The ads have to be well written. There has to be a good landing page. If you're paying for marketing, especially Facebook or Google Ads, you shouldn't be sending them to your website. You should be sending them to a specially built landing page. Now that sounds all arty-farty. It's just the page that looks like your website that has a few things done to it to make it more efficiently and make people convert faster, so you don't waste your money. That's all it is. People in our industry love to use technical terms, makes us sound clever and big. It's just a page that's designed a certain way to make your marketing work better. Most people try a bit of marketing, send everybody to their homepage. People wander about their website and get lost. There's too many choices, and it means you don't get as good conversions from it, and you can burn quite a lot of money on Google Ads doing that, and Facebook ads. It's the same. So certainly a small company can spend £1,000 a month and do really well.
So something we do at the roofing company that I work for, we've got different landing pages. So somebody says pitched roofing in Huddersfield, the page will be specifically dedicated to Huddersfield. Apart from locality, what kind of other specifics do people tend to cater their landing page towards? I'm just pulling up blanks. I can't really think of any others.
So landing pages should have no navigation across the top.
Right.
They should be able to go anywhere else. It is a convert or bugger off. That's what you want. So your landing page is kind of like a mini website in itself. It has no navigation, so I can't go and find your testimonials, but the testimonials already. You've got 2 or 3 testimonials on the landing page itself. And you've got case studies on the landing page itself, without making it too long, and key features and benefits, and a big telephone number, and a form in both places. So if they don't want to phone you, they can fill in the form really quickly. And that means everything they think about is on that page. Everything they need to know is on that page. The worst thing that can happen is you pay £10 for a click from Google or Facebook, and I'm sitting there wandering around all the case studies in your website, and my kids come in and say, "Daddy, dinner time," and I then don't finish the job. So you want to make it as easy for me as possible to finish the job on one page. So I don't. Of course, your website has all your case studies and your testimonials on it, but if I've come on about pitched roofing or flat roofing in Huddersfield, I want to see we do pitched roofing and we're in Huddersfield. And we're good. Mm-hmm. These are the things we're good at, and we've got these awards. And here's all our testimonials. Oh, they sound good. Boom, and it's done. If I have to go to different pages to find all those things out, it takes more time, which means you've got more chance of losing me along the way.
So I know he's talking about a lot of different kind of approaches here. In terms of money, in terms of kind of priorities, what should a company what should be like kind of the split towards, say, the website, the kind of online social media, say outbound calling? What do you think? Because I know they probably shouldn't put all their eggs in one basket, but what would be a good split? Is there a rule of thumb, or is it just different for everyone?
I think you can take sort of an average view. What I would say is, if you haven't got a good website, you can still advertise with a good landing page. So even if you're not happy with your website, it's not working very well. The difference between paid marketing, such as Google ads and Facebook ads, and search engine optimization is the fact that once you pay for an ad and it's clicked on, that money's gone. It's like topping up the gas meter every day. Whereas if you spend money on content over time, that content pays more and more because it generates more traffic over time. So it's a longer term investment. It takes a long time to work. But once you've made one piece of content, it's not gone. It'll keep producing forever. So one could argue, if you've already got a good website, it's fast, and you've done your on-site technical search engine optimization or SEO, then you should split 50-50 between paid search of some sort or paid marketing of some sort, even if that is an industry magazine, even if there is an exhibition, because that costs money and they can work, and search engine optimization. And if you've got a sales team, then you should be to field lots of leads or doing outbound, then you should have a good CRM, customer relation management system, such as HubSpot or Go High Level or something like that. You need something where you can see all the leads and where they are, and you know which salesperson's touched what. If you've got a team of 10 people, a lot of these platforms will show you, will allow you to see when someone clicks an email, see when someone clicks a PDF. So imagine you've sent out a proposal to another company, and they've said, call us in 6 months, and then you see them in 3 months' time start looking at the PDF again. You can say, I just thought I'd check it a bit quicker. And they go, oh, that's funny. I was looking at your PDF yesterday. Were you? Oh, let's talk. So having tracking on lots of stuff can give you much more data. And we see that all the time because there's nothing worse than phoning someone and they've gone with someone else. Oh, I didn't think you were interested because you never call me back. So if you can see they're looking at your proposals or looking at individual pages on your website, let's say you've already sent them a proposal, and they look at the proposal, then they look at the case study section on your website, then they look at the About Us section on the website and your directors or something. You can see that they're probably pretty close to making a buying decision and going with someone. So maybe you should find, even if you just email them, and this can be automated, but that's a whole other box of fish, really. This can be, you can reach out to them at the time they're ready to buy, by having a little bit more data. So if you've got a team of outbound salespeople or a team of people phoning leads, then knowing when the leads are ready to be called can make a huge difference to your conversion rate and make all your advertising work harder.
We were speaking about a lot of methods of getting work in, but how do you take it that one step further on, like targeting a specific audience? I can imagine with outbound, when you're contacting companies who might do that. So, for example, a company wants to go from domestic to commercial, or just a general contractor who might want to go into healthcare. Is there any inbound marketing methods or ways you can do that, or is it kind of just reliant on outbound marketing?
Well, there's outbound and inbound. So for inbound, you can dress up your website. Well, the first thing you do is you dress up your website to say, we deal with healthcare. That's what we do. We're very good at it. All your writing changes to healthcare. You don't just leave your website the same way and say, now we're going after this niche. So you dress your whole website up to show proficiency in the industry you're trying to search for. Because being niche if you look like the best person in a niche, it can really make a difference, because niches can be quite big. And then you could choose, when it comes to marketing, depending how you define marketing as outbound and inbound. When it comes to marketing, then on LinkedIn, you can find all the people who say, my job is in healthcare and I'm a director and I've got a company of 20 or more people or 30 or more people, whatever you want. So you can do that on LinkedIn and pay for LinkedIn marketing. LinkedIn marketing is quite expensive. You can do that on Facebook. We run advertising now for a secondary glazing company. It's got a big factory in Hertfordshire. And we're advertising to architects and sustainability officers and quite a lot of different job roles. And Facebook is producing leads of LinkedIn, and that's kind of the standard. And people often say, well, Facebook's no good for B2B. It's only good for trainers and t-shirts. It's not. It's really good for B2B if done well. And you can target many more job titles on Facebook than you'd think, although LinkedIn is better for that. If you want to find someone who's just a quantity surveyor and they're just in this area and their company has got 30 people or more, LinkedIn is your bag for that. But it does cost a lot more. And Facebook's marketing and targeting and its automatic targeting has become very good of late. So often you don't have to, it'll run your ads for a while and then it will start showing them to the right people without you having to do too much work. It's quite clever like that, depending on the type of business you're in, as a caveat. But for this company, they're looking for hotel managers. They're looking for people who run schools, because I've got a certain type of secondary glazing for schools. It's to do with noise and sustainability and green issues. And it works very well targeting both on LinkedIn and Facebook. We feel Facebook is producing a much cheaper lead in the end.
If I'm a company following maybe some of these steps already, and we're getting some leads through the door, what's kind of the best metrics to look at to understand if what I'm doing is working, and if it's the kind of the key thing in place that's resulting in, my kind of success in a way? Are you looking at the views on LinkedIn, the likes? Are you just counting the direct leads you've had from online? What's the best numbers, the best data to look at to review that?
Generally, you have to define what a conversion is. So conversion can be someone who clicks a phone number on a landing page, because you can track that. You can say, oh, they phoned us, that's got to be good. Or someone who fills in a form on a landing page, you can track that. And both Facebook and LinkedIn have ways of tracking conversion. Twitter does too. We do a lot of Twitter advertising for the financial industry with another company. So you can define it. It can be a little bit technical, so you might need an agency or a developer to help you. But a lot of the time, you can just put a code underneath things, and it'll say, "Oh, someone's phoned us." That's that. And we advertise that keyword, and more people are clicking the link or phoning or clicking the phone to link or filling in the form from that keyword than other ones. So maybe we should move more of our budget to this subject matter than that subject matter on whatever platform. So generally, we would track conversions, but in the end, if you can track those conversions into your customer relationship system, your CRM, and you can see they've turned into leads, I mean, that should be your answer. But then there's the nuances of how big, how long does it take for these people to convert from initial inquiry? In the business industry especially, there's at least 8 touch points before someone even engages with you. So they might have seen something on social, they might have seen a Google ad, they might have seen your website, they've done nothing for 6 months, and then they click on an ad again and go, oh yeah, I remember that now, when they arrive at your website, and then they phone you. So it's hard to decide this marketing's better than that marketing. One would argue you should have social media that's good to support any paid media that you do. It's kind of like that. But in terms of conversions, we would often track the phone calls and people who fill in a form as a conversion more than anything else, rather than traffic. But for some customers, they're looking just to promote their blog posts. They're paying for those to be seen by the right type of people. Then we would prioritize tracking clicks, because we just want people to get to the post rather than act on the post. So it depends.
If I was somebody who was setting up a company, had zero presence already online, 0 photos, maybe even 0 completed projects, is there a 0% chance that I could create a website with basic information and kind of stock images and get one lead through the door just off a Google search? Is that a possibility at all, or do you already need that traction?
Well, we could talk about the morals of having stock pictures and pretending they were projects. let's not agree with that for a minute. But arguably,
I just mean like general stock pictures of I don't know. It could be like a sunset. It could be the work they're selling.
So let's say you were a local company, like a builder or a plumber or something like that. I think as soon as if you put a decent website together with pictures of guys under sinks or laying bricks, because people understand that isn't always you, and you've got no projects, but you say, look, we're really good, give us a chance, and you put a Google Map listing or a Google My Business listing together, and it's done well. At some point, you're going to get leads from your own area, because Google works like that, and obviously, if you're quite specialist and you do, I don't know, garden rooms, there's not as many searches for that as if for someone to come and fix my drive or hang a door or something like that, is there? So it does depend on the size. There's but you could start small and work your way up. And once you've got a couple of jobs, you've got testimonials then, haven't you? So the key thing is to get a decent looking website, a Google My Business listing, and when you've got a couple of jobs, make sure you get really good testimonials from the customers. Maybe underprice a couple of jobs to get some jobs quickly, and then after that, and you've got a bit of money coming in, then you could start maybe Google Ads, depending on the business that you're in.
I've noticed when I personally set up pay-per-clicks on Google, the first week or two we had tons of traffic, and then it dies down. Is there a way to beat that? Because I think it probably has happened to a lot of people who might be listening. What can you do to keep just nudging up on the kind of the pay-per-click side of things?
Well, there's quite a lot of nuances to Google Ads. The one thing that people make the mistake of a lot of the time is they don't put any negative keywords in. So you need to find a load of keywords, like you don't want people to be looking for jobs and clicking on your ads, so you make sure you negative keyword that, so no ads will appear when someone says builder jobs in Harrogate or builder jobs in Manchester. So, and there's a lot of words like that you should put in, so you don't waste money on having people click on ads that aren't interested in your work at all. So that can happen a lot. Also, every week, every couple of days, you should look at what words people have typed in to see your ads and see if any of them are a bit off. So, and then choosing words that aren't as competitive as others. You've got, because what can happen is someone can see you advertise because you've come in as a new player, and they can say, well, I don't like that, and start outbidding you, and just means hoping that you'll go away because you haven't got the budget. It's not like poker, but you can imagine it a bit like someone having more money behind them at a poker game than you, and it's a bit like that on an everyday basis. Also, sometimes people just want to make a name for themselves, and they come into a marketplace and are already a big player in a different area. They'll overspend just to get that traction. I suspect that if you look at, say, you're aware of Pimlico Plumbing, I understand. You know who they are? They're a big, big firm. Never heard of them. There's a very big firm in London. The chap's a bit of a self-marketer. I think you've got an OBE as well. But there's a couple of really big plumbing firms down in London. There's Dynarod, Pimlico Plumbing, and Metro Rod. They're quite big. Trying to outbid them at Christmas. It's a pointless game trying to outbid them at Christmas, because they will overpay to keep their market share, because they know if they fix a tap for you, you'll get, and they look good when they turn up, and they're right, you'll have them back to do their boiler later. So they're playing the long game, whereas a small company can't. So in terms of Google Ads, one should really concentrate on words that aren't that competitive. So you'd buy lots of words. Instead of going for builder Manchester, you'd go for all the loft conversion company and choose an area in Manchester. Loft conversion supplier, loft conversion, conversions, and all the different variations of those words that don't get 10,000 searches a month, but maybe get 500, and bid on them, because they're going to be cheaper and they're going to be better for you. Just, it takes more work. People are lazy, so they tend to bid on the big words. Just choose 2 or 3 of them and get on with it, and that's the wrong thing to do. You should take a very strategic approach to Google AdWords.
I seen a carousel post on LinkedIn today. It wasn't even going to be one of my questions, but I thought it'd be kind of a good thing to ask you. They spoke about it. I think it was a marketer on LinkedIn. Not sure if they're in the construction space or not, but they mentioned that they was putting posts across all media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, all of them. And they noticed over time they were just wasting the time. They should stick ideally to LinkedIn for like the general marketing. They were a marketing company. For the construction side of things, do you think you're almost wasting your time maybe posting on platforms such as TikTok or Twitter? Because I don't see much kind of construction stuff on there. And is it kind of a low priority in terms of the best approach?
I think if you're framing it about getting more traffic, that's a difficult conversation. But if you're framing it as a shop window, so I arrive on your website and then I go and look at your feeds, then it's not a waste of time, because you're backing up. It's a backup salesperson to your website, isn't it? Unless you're really religious about putting every new job on your website every couple of days, then fair enough. But no one is. So it's very easy to have your phone in your hand and take a good Instagram picture, touch it up a bit, and stick it in your Instagram feed. And some I hate to say it, but some housewife is looking around. She's convinced her husband that they're going to get an extension instead of a new motorcycle, and she'll do all the search for the husband. So I found these 2 companies. Can you help me with it? I mean, it's a bit sexist. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. But in the end, there's quite a lot of decision making going into having an extension or a loft conversion done, and people will do quite a lot of research before they phone you. And they could have been on your social streams a few times, even though they didn't create the traffic in the first place. They could have done a Google search, gone to your website, looked at your social streams. So those are quite nice projects, and saved them for later. And you don't know they've done that, or they could even. One of their friends could even know that they're looking for a loft conversion and say, look, I've seen this guy in our area, because they're on social, and share it with them. So I don't think it's necessarily a good argument to say social media for traffic. I think it does get traffic, but I would argue that for backup it's really good. You shouldn't not do it. But if you're doing it badly, don't do it at all. There's nothing worse than having the last image you've put on Instagram 6 months ago, then people just think you're out of work.
No, and to be honest, I do look at companies' pages, and if they've not been posting, I do think something might be amiss.
But don't have an account. Retire your account. It's doing more harm than good. But people think, I've done it now. I've got Instagram. I've got Facebook. I've made a Facebook page for my company. I've made a LinkedIn page for my company. I've done, and then they don't do anything else because it was so painful. I mean, it's like a website. People, when they've done their website, they go, oh, thank God that's done. I don't have to think of text anymore. I don't have to choose pictures. And they forget all about it. It's that job's from one side of the desk to the other. That's what they do. So arguably, people have the same approach to social media. If you're doing it badly, don't do it. Take the accounts down. Take them off your website. If you're managing to post one picture a week saying, this is a nice job we're doing in Burnley, this is a nice job we're doing in Walsall, then fair enough, keep doing it, because there's nothing wrong with that. You're not doing it as well as you could. There's some, I would argue, go and find I'd do a search on Google, best builders on Instagram, and see what they're doing and start copying some of their game. Really, it's not that hard to do. You just got to think, okay, I'm not very clear at this stuff. What can I do? I'll ask a couple of my friends and their wives what they'd like to see, and I'll start like that. And if I'm doing one of them a week, I'm doing better than 90% of the other people in my industry.
So for people who are watching this and they can't comprehend anything we've said, for people who are lost in this space and they don't think it's for them, maybe you could speak a bit about Leadfly and the services that you offer, and it could be of assistance to kind of a few people listening.
Sure. So by definition, we're an advertising agency. I suppose you've got a digital agency or a lead generation agency that specialises in the construction space. Anything in home improvements, from solar power guys to loft conversion guys, blinds and awnings, carpets and flooring, that type of thing. And our job, using advertising, whether it be Google or Facebook, depending, is to get you leads. What we have found is a lot of builders are pretty bad at following up their leads. So they get a call from Mrs. Jones, they're up a ladder, and they forget to call her back for 2 days. The service where we actually call the leads for them. And we'll say, hi, it's Shane from John's Roofing. Can I tell you about your project? When you and we'll talk to the customer on their behalf when they're planning to do the project, how quickly they're doing it, have they had any other quotes? And we'll say, our man is, John is available to see you on Friday afternoon or Monday morning, which day's good for you? And then we'll have a warm appointment for our client, who will then go and see them. So he spends his time doing his job, and we spend our time making sure that the people he does go and see are actually ready to go.
What's your opinion on companies like Checker Trade and My Builder? That approach of, if they're almost like just a search engine direct for the contacts, aren't they?
They kind of are. I mean, there's a lot of them about. There's one for the advertising industry called Clutch, which is the same, and then you've got Bark, which is for everything. So what they tend to do is by spending lots of time on their own search engine optimization, or even by buying ads, they get traffic from Google and they resell it on. Because if you put, I don't know, builder Huddersfield, and then Checker Trade comes up, you're going to click on that, and there are going to be 10 builders in Huddersfield or 20 builders in Huddersfield underneath that search, isn't it? So all they've done is buy that piece of traffic and sell it to you lot, for your membership. And it's a good business model. And they argue that they vet the people that are on their sites. I don't know how well they do that. I can't really comment. Which does that too. I've been told by clients that Which is quite hard to get on to be a Which trusted supplier, or what they call it, a Which trusted trader. But I suppose in the industry, some people are going to feel that Checker Trade is better than Trusted Trade. One of my good friends is a very busy locksmith. He likes both of them, says he does very well out of them. So I can't really comment from my point of view. What I do know is, if you haven't got traffic and they're, what are they, £300, £400 a year, something like that?
For what, sorry?
For a membership of Checker Trade, or to buy a listing, do you know how much they are?
So we actually, was it Checker Trade that came in? Somebody came in a couple of months ago, just before Christmas, wanting to sell us it, and they could offer us certain postcodes. So you was one of maybe 3 other contractors in those specific areas. So say for Manchester, you wouldn't have M1, you might have M14A. Assuming you've got all the 26.
They've made it a little bit granular there, haven't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much were they asking for that?
Say, I thought it was quite a hefty amount. I think a month, £1,100.
That sounds wrong. I don't think they charge that much. Maybe we're misremembering. Oh, if it's £300 a year for a listing like a Yell listing, I think it's worth it.
Oh no, so that's with a service of theirs where they guarantee a minimum amount of leads per month. So what they'll do, they'll put a telephone number on Checker Trade, and from that
they track it.
Instead of they'll track that, and they'll guarantee so many phone calls, so many not converted leads, but definitely the first initial inquiries. But I think in the areas we was looking at, there was a maximum of 324 searches in the past 12 months. That's searches in those areas. So. I don't know how many of them would actually convert to clicks and then convert to actual leads, but I don't think there was kind of much scope in that for us personally.
It sounds like a lot of money for that, for sure.
Yeah, it was. Because we obviously had to sit down first and meet and greet, and then it ended with this is how much are you interested? And we was like, we got the pitch, had a number in mind, and that just wasn't it for us.
If they wanted £1,000 a month, you'd be far better off spending that on Google Ads, that's for sure. Or even Facebook ads, or half and half. That's for sure. I mean, and the thing about them having their tracking number, so it's like a dummy mobile phone that goes to your mobile phone. People like me will phone them up and try and sell you stuff. So when they count those calls, some of those are sales calls too. I could be a roofing material supplier going through the listings on Checker Trade, just phoning them all, trying to sell them new. Come over to our company. We've got a nice, we've got we've got cheaper prices on Acropole, come over to us. Do you know what I mean? So you have to take their call counting figures with a pinch of salt. Not saying that they're all bad. I have to say you need to be aware that other people will be using a number not to buy things but to sell you things.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of people who might not even be sure what type of roof they have. So you could whittle it down as much as single ply felt, but there could be people out there who aren't constructionally minded, and they'll go, right, we have a felt roof because it's a flat roof, and they'll search it, and then they'll call you and they'll be like, oh, we've got a felt roof, get there single ply, but that's kind of a converted lead as far as Checker Trade would say. So it's just kind of a lost coupon, as you'd say.
I mean, I've worked with roofers for a very, very long time. And I think I know what the difference between torch on and felt is, but I don't really. So, so how's a normal customer going to do that,
Yeah, no, definitely. Do you offer any? So let's say I'm a roofer. I come to you and I go, I need your help. We need leads. The calendar's looking pretty dry for the next 12 months. Do you have a certain amount of leads you can say we're going to guarantee you that we get X amount of inquiries? Is there any kind of metric?
Yeah, so we guarantee 5 quote ready leads that we've checked and phoned in your first month, or you don't pay us.
Right, that's good.
Yeah,
and is that a realistic kind of a number you can consistently hit with everyone?
Yeah, I mean, we have to make sure you're spending the right budget with the platforms, because you don't pay us, but you still have to pay Facebook or Google for that to happen, and mostly it's Facebook. But you got to think of it this way: it's in our interest to make that work. So we've positioned that in a place where we can prove it every time.
No, that's really good. So, what? Maybe you could think of a case study or a client specifically. Is there any, kind of pretty good results you've had for an individual company, or kind of any stats you can give us into what, like the before and after Leadfly?
Two that sort of spring to mind. There was a gardening company in Watford that we worked with, and we just, this was before we did the don't pay us. They just asked us to help, and we got them 6 leads in the first day and 21 in the first week, from a spend of £400 a month. And it was just they got, arguably they got a real hit. There'd been bad weather, we were taking advantage of that, and then we got a loft conversion firm in West London, not in Central London, West London, but West London's pretty big, who got 50 leads in their first month and 111 in their second month. They were spending about £1,000 to £1,500 a month at a time. But when you think what the price of a loft conversion is, that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, definitely. I wonder what your advice would be for the company that I'm working for, D&D Roofing. We hire a social media company. They'll guarantee us X amount of posts on LinkedIn and Facebook every month. And as well as that, they do all like the website, SEOs, landing pages, and do all the updates on that in terms of case studies and blogs. A lot of the time just asking us for minimal descriptive information, a few photos, kind of passes over to them. But off the back of that, all we're kind of achieving at the moment is a lot of domestic inquiries through the website and online, and very little commercial. We want to grow, get £500,000 jobs in consistently, 1 or 2 a month. That's the dream, to get just the inquiries to do that. But at the moment, fresh inquiries that we're not individually calling people and asking around, it's just extension flat roofs.
Sure.
And I don't know how we can get to that next step.
Let's imagine you were having a party, wine and cheese, all of that, and you wanted to fill the room with those people that you want to do that business with. Who would they be?
Specifically, the individuals would be directors of main contractors who deal in the commercial space, industrial, healthcare kind of franchises, Lidl's, stuff like that, Amazon's.
So you'd like to track down sometimes the building coordinator or the facilities manager at, say, Lidl or something like that?
Yeah, the decision maker on who appoints the new contractors.
And one would assume, I suspect Lidl's a bad example, but they've probably got a contractor underneath them that you know about.
Yeah, so they might appoint Kia to a lot of their projects.
Right. So you could take a profile of, say, did you say Kia?
Yeah, Kia.
Yeah, so you could take a profile like that and you could say, okay, who else is like them? You could build a list of those people, and then you could email them over time. Yeah, that's and that process is long and laborious unless you automate it, and that's something that we have a specialist part of our industry that does. So we could find all those people who've got this job title, who are in this industry, construction industry, let's say contracting industry, who've got a company of more than X amount of people, so 10 to 20, 30 to 100 and so on. And we can find their actual email address, and then we can send them a chain of emails that at least get some of them on board. You need to send a lot, and it takes a lot of doing, but if you were to do it yourself, you'd do about 100 a month, and it'd take you hours. We can do it. We can send 500 emails a day if you want. We can send even more than that. So we can find all these people and send them an email and get you on their radar over time.
Yeah, because my approach, I've got the dream list of companies. It does exist. It's on an Excel spreadsheet. There's 50 big names who I want to be on their tender list, getting inquiries day in, day out. And of that, I found the domain. I've tested an individual to find out the layout of the email, and I've got the list of thousands of people now, and I send out the emails, and we get next to nothing back. And we've got like a good introductory email, nothing too kind of the same inquiry. It's got a bit of pizzazz to it. Shows what areas we cover with a nice diagram. But no, we don't get much off that, and it's a shame. And I thought that would have been the best way of doing it, just kind of like you said. But we've just
I'm going to be a little bit hard on you now. I'm going to say, if I can say who cares when your email turns up, it's not going to work. All right, what's in it for me? If it's more than 2 paragraphs long, I'm not going to read it. As simple as that. So I get, believe you me, I get a lot of emails from companies trying to sell me their marketing services to be subcontractors and stuff like that in a very similar vein. And they're this long. We do this thing, we'll do the SEO for you. I just don't read any of them. If someone sends me a clever email that says, look, we can help you, here's what's in it for you, we're really good at it, check us out. And then they follow that with, did you see my last email? Come on, check us out. It's a bit of humour. But if it's more than 2 paragraphs, no one's reading it. If it's not personalised, if you haven't sent me an email that says, hi Shane, I get lots of emails, hi business owner, hi agency owner. Blah, blah. If it just says hi Shane, if it doesn't say hi Shane, I don't read it. If it doesn't say we checked out your website and we love your projects and it's been specific, I won't read it. So you get how many emails do you get that's hi there, and then it's just a blank email, of just rubbish. There's a way of doing it. It takes a lot of doing, and if you want to do it at scale, it takes a lot of setting up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find one of the emails, and I'll read it out to you, and you can let me know your thoughts. It probably is too long, but I'll read it out. Okay. Good afternoon, Berry. The name is Berry.
First point.
One of our goals for 2024 is to join the Turmering construction supply chain to price the roofing packages on your upcoming projects. Please see below areas we cover.
So already there, one of our goals is, that's your goal, I don't care. So what? That's a so what straight away, isn't it? I don't care about it. What's in it for me? Why is it one of your goals? It's everybody's goal. There's a million companies out there. That's one of their goals. I don't care, mate. That's their attitude. I'm just saying. That's their attitude. So if you'd approach that with, I'm sure one of your problems is dealing with really bad contractors, or one of the problems in your the choke points in your day, one of the bottlenecks in your day is dealing with people who aren't reliable or something like that. If you've related it to me a bit more, you're already a bit further along the line. There's ways of, I'm not going to give all the game away, but there's ways of approaching that. And then if you hit me with that, and then you prove that you're competent, and then you say, look, give us a, and you give me an incentive to try. You I don't know, if it's some sort of service, a free trial. That's why all the software services in the world give you 14 days for free to try it. They all do that. I know it's hard to do in your industry, but if there's some way of making my life easier, and one of the biggest, in the corporate world, the biggest decision isn't how much you charge. It's if I hire you, will I lose my job? That's the main motivation for everybody. Whether I'm buying computer systems for my company, whether I'm buying photocopiers, whether I'm buying an air conditioning company. Think of it this way: if I got a big office and it's too hot and everybody's complaining, what am I going to do? I'm going to get a subordinate, get 3 quotes for the air conditioning because I'm too busy. I'm Mr. Boss. I'm running a company. That's how people operate. 3 quotes eventually end up on my desk. I look to the back page to check the prices before I even read the spec. That happens a lot. And I go, okay, which one did you like, to the person I'd asked to do the film? And whoever was more funny walking around the office and doing the measure up has a bit more of an in. But the fact is, the person who's done that, Miss Jones, Mr. Jones, my secretary, whoever it is, my assistant, their only motivation for choosing one firm over another is, will my job be safe if I choose this company? So they don't care. It's not their money. You know, a lot of the time it's not their money. Now, the persona you've talked about is responsible for budget, but really their main motivation is, if I give you a go, will I have egg on my face? If there's any nagging thought of that in my head, you're not going to get a go. So approaching with me, I'd love to be one of your things. Yeah, sure you would, mate. So would everybody. That's your first, and that's 20 minutes on your first paragraph before we move on to the sorry.
Yeah, I'm scared to read the next bit. No, I will do. So after the marked up area of where we cover, the next bit says we can turn around detailed tender submissions within 10 days from receipt of your tender inquiry. Now, the reason I put that, to give a bit of background before you turn it down, is when I was a QS, well, I am a QS, a big thing for me was we had to get X amount of quotes in, and a lot of people let you down, and a lot of the time you'd be running around last minute, who can we get to price something? So knowing that somebody can return something quickly, I thought it might have been like a bonus point, but again, I'd love to know your point of view on it.
I don't think that's bad, but what you could do, this is a bit of a meme in our industry, but I can turn around your thing within 10 days, and if I don't, I'll get you a free burger. I'll send you a box of chocolates. You know, then you've added humour and you've shown commitment to it, and 9 times out of 10 no one else has done that. So we can do this thing. It's the crux of any of these emails should be, you have a problem, it's causing you hassle, we'll fix that. You don't have to make any effort. There's no effort for you if you let us try and fix that for you. And if you don't fix it, we'll there's no risk to letting us try and fix it. And if we don't manage that, here's something for you anyway. And obviously in the industry there can't be any what we used to call brown enveloping, because that's, you know, people are aware of that. So that's why they have to get the quotes. The whole point, they have to get 3-4 quotes, have to get multiple quotes. So what can you do? They're going to do it anyway. What can you do to make sure that you're the one that stands out when you do that? We'll do it in 10 days, or we'll send you a box of chocolates. We'll take you for a drink. We'll go and play golf together, something like that. Because no one else is saying that, and you've proved that you're a nice guy at the same time, you know, and you've thought about it.
I think I'm changing my email. No,
think of something that something that, you know, you've got to be careful. You know, people are worried about being accused of being bribed and stuff like that in many industries, so you've got to be careful about that. But think of something that's above board and fun, and say, look, if we don't manage it for every time we don't, or don't say every time we don't, because it implies you haven't done it before. But if we don't manage it, we'll take you to golf, or here's a cinema ticket for your wife, or something. You know, just like something easy that no one can be caught out on. And then no one else has done that, you know. And whether you show them all your areas, I don't care. I just say they're gonna. I wouldn't show the areas. I think they're going to take that on spec that you do those areas anyway. So I wouldn't get that detailed at that point.
Right. And then the final thing, it says, if you could let me know how I can get the ball rolling on this, it would be much appreciated. The last bit says, we have references and case studies available upon request.
So I'd have 2 versions of the whole email. So the first bit we talked about, the second bit we talked about, and then it goes on. Just recently we did this for this company. So you've got a 2-line case study, not we've got them on availability. You've got a 2-line case study in the email. Just recently. So that's in the middle section of the email. And just recently we did this for X and Y, and this was the outcome they got. So we did this, they had no pain, and they love us because of it, or they made more money because of it, or this project finished early because of it. All right, 2 lines case study. And the same 2 on a different version of the email, and you can, instead of, we'll go back to your call to action, by the way, the different version of the email can be PS, we did this. So after you've signed off, it can be a PS, last week we did this for these people, and they love us. So that's where you put the testimonials. You don't refer to them, you have them. And lastly, how would you like to get the ball around? You know, so in our industry, it's possibly not relevant for you. In our industry, we say something like, can I send you over a video showing you how it works? Rather than, do you want to jump on a call? But sometimes we will say, are you against getting on a 15-minute call to discuss? Rather than, do you want to get the ball rolling? And then you can have different follow-up emails that, you know, sort of have more humour in them. I see you're avoiding my email. Did you fall down a hole? So it depends on the type of industry going, you know, are you ignoring me? Fair enough. Tick A, B, and C. There's lots of different ways of. So what you're doing is sending one email. Are you following up?
Yeah, follow it up. Yeah, we've got like a tracker, so it'll highlight a different colour every month.
All right. So what you can do is automate that, so it sends 4 emails across 30 days after you press the button once.
But then you'd have to remember also to update the list if they have got back to you, wouldn't you?
No, because the software will say will stop the emails when they've replied.
Ah, see. Learning. This is a school day. I
So
like
imagine,
it.
so imagine we set you up and you send 500 of these a day. It takes about, depending on the industry, it takes about 500 emails to get a day to get 5 to 10 meetings a week.
So 1% conversion rate from that initial
Kind of, when you
introduction.
think about it, because 60% open rate, then lots of people ignore it. Then they get the third email and the fourth email. So, we get a lot of people that answer us on the fourth email that we send, but it's all automatic. We just press one, we just drop them into a list. It's a machine. It sends all the emails. It takes a lot of setting up. There's quite a lot of upfront cost with it, but once it's done, it's done. And you've got to say, okay, how big is my potential marketplace? How many of these sort of companies are there in the UK that I can work with? And then we got to think from there. So it doesn't work for everybody, but for us it certainly does. How many medium-sized builders and plumbers and flooring showrooms and bathroom showrooms are there? There's quite a lot. So that's what we do.
So if I was putting a post on LinkedIn and I want to get contacted, do you think the best thing I can do is to leave my number, leave an email, or should it be like a direct message on LinkedIn? Because a lot of the time, on like the last, let's say it's a video or a carousel, and the last page is your contact details. For some bizarre reason, it's at the end. But they'll put the website, the inquiries email, their phone number, or drop me a message. What do you think the best route, the easiest route for somebody is it to pick up the phone, email you?
The issue is every platform works the same way. They've got DMs, they've got posts, but they're all different, and people's attitude while they're on them is different. And I think we do a lot of automated direct messaging on LinkedIn. So we will send a chain, again, it's software, we'll send a hi message and a follow-up message, and this all happens automatically. We just set our list up and it all happens. We don't have to sit there doing it. But if you've got time, sending 60 messages in mails a month with your LinkedIn Navigator plan, with your premium plan, is the right thing to do. You've got to think how good they are. People tend to find, what you like when you get a random WhatsApp from someone you don't know trying to promote something. It's a bit, you do find it a little bit distasteful. You kind of go, who's that, don't you? So you have to there's nuances behind it. And I think people will have some people have a different opinion from me about how to do LinkedIn, but I think direct messaging can be good, but it's got to be done well. You can't, the worst thing you can do is when you attack someone on LinkedIn is to ask them to give you business straight away. You've got to find a way to engage in conversation. And one of it's different for different industries, but one of the best things you can do is be in LinkedIn groups and answer questions for people, because then you just look like a good guy, and eventually goes, I've seen this guy doing this. It takes time, but you're not selling. You're saying, oh no, if I was to use that product, I'd certainly approach it in this way. If I was to use, if I had that problem, and you engage in conversation, and then if you're putting up posts of work you've done on LinkedIn, there's nothing wrong with that. Arguably, LinkedIn's algorithm punishes you if you put a link in your post. If you've got posts with links in all the time.
So there's something I've just found out about that. So when I put the trailer on for the first episode, I did that the other day, they've taken off the hyperlink function.
Yeah.
So before, I noticed that I think a one way around it was if you put your first post on with no link, after 10 minutes, edit your post, put the link in, it kind of cheats the kind of algorithm of boosting it down, because obviously they want to...
And the rules change every 5 minutes as well. So
Yeah.
at one point you can't put... At one point Substack was big on Twitter. Now Twitter is not allowing you to post Substack links because it sees it as a competitor, because it's got its own sort of social media part to it as well now. So the rules change every 5 minutes with Google, with Facebook, with LinkedIn, with Instagram. For years, Facebook wouldn't allow you to put text over an image in an ad, or it would charge you more money for your ads if you did. That rule changed a while ago, a good few years ago, but for years that was a rule. So you have to be wary of what's going on. And we would argue if you're gonna approach paid marketing, paid advertising on these platforms, you should use an agency, because they're generally up on the rules. Not always, but because they change quite fast. If you're personally outreaching to people, then you kind of have to do that yourself, because it's about your business and your personality, and that's got to shine through. And in groups especially, that how am I going to answer technical questions on your behalf pretending to be on LinkedIn? I can't do that. But if you employed our company to post lots of stuff on LinkedIn and make sure that we did all the activity, we could, but we wouldn't be able to answer the questions because we don't know anything about it. So if sort of with a lot of customers who want social media management where we act as them on social media across platforms, we have to engage with them on a weekly basis about what happens. But because we've been in this industry for quite a long time, we do know quite a lot of stuff that we can answer fairly easily. If it gets technical, if someone starts asking, we've got a water softener company we look after in Ipswich. We've got, in fact, 3. They're really good installers. And people ask questions that we can answer about hard water and stuff like that. But when they say, is this better than this machine? Is this Harvey's machine better than an eco water machine? I can't answer that question because it's a bit of an opinion thing and I don't know. And the customer, as the fitter for both of them, has to answer that question. To be fair though, he's really good on social media. He gets the questions before I do a lot of the time. He's one of the clients I've seen that works Facebook really well, and he's a particularly good installer. He's particularly good, he gives great customer service. So I think long answer is, I think you have to experiment and decide what sort of post is for you. Is video better? You're always looking for a thumb stopper, something that makes someone stop their feed, whether they're on their phone or on a screen, and go, oh, I'll stop and look at that. Often that's a good beginning of a video, isn't it? And people like faces. Yeah. So if there's someone in front of a camera halfway up a roof looking at some weird thing happening in the rain going sideways, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Amateur looking films do well as polished ones. There was a time when people in the B2B industry especially thought that social media wasn't for them and didn't do it at all. And I think people are growing up. There's younger people in positions of in management positions now, and if they see you digging a massive hole over something or doing something quite clever and they know about it in the industry, so long as you're not doing it badly, they're going to stop and look at it because that relates to them, doesn't it? What football team do you support?
I don't. That's the worst question you could have.
I don't either. But imagine you're a Man U fan and you're on social media on Facebook and a Man U logo came by, you'd probably stop there, wouldn't you? So the same thing applies to your industry. If you're in modular buildings, if you're in, I don't know, partitioning inside offices, office fit outs, and someone shows us there's a time lapse of someone doing an office fit out and doing all the spacing and doing all the cabling and stuff like that, you'd stop and watch it. But I wouldn't, because I probably would because I'm nerdy. Stop and look at that, but people in the industry would. And if you look like you're doing a really good job with this thing, you've got people on a job, you can put a phone on a tripod and leave it running, on a time lapses. And if you never use it, you never use it. But it's cost you 5 minutes of setting up a tripod, isn't it? And you can think, okay, I've got that. How can I use that now? Here's a job we just did here, and it's a video on LinkedIn. It can't do any harm unless you're looking really bad and you've done something technically bad, but I wouldn't know about that. But it can't do any harm, can it? So people think I haven't got enough content. I think it's lying around on the floor everywhere. You can write a blog post about anything to do with your industry. It's when it comes to writing blog posts, you need to think about what keywords you're going to use in the blog post. So a simple example of that, and it's a bit of a silly example, but it'll work. In London, people tend to type loft conversion when they want someone to do their loft. Out in the posh parts of Hertfordshire, they type attic. So if you're labeling up, I did this job in Bedford, I did this loft conversion in Bedford, you probably got less, this might not be true anymore, but at the time it was, you probably got less chance of being found on that blog post by someone typing in Bedford because they type attic. So just knowing the difference, I've done this great attic conversion in Bedford. Boom. Bedford isn't the example because it's not really a posh area per se, but there are pockets of areas around the posh home counties in London where people will type attic long before they type loft. And knowing that, and here you are saying, I've done a job, it's in your area, which means I've now got a chance of coming up for someone searching loft conversion Henley on Thames or whatever, but actually they're going to type in attic. So labeling that's the best example of why you need to know which keywords are popular where before you write your content, not after.
I'm a big believer of like the right place, right time. So that could be, for instance, if you've done your kind of cold emails or cold messages to 500 people and 5 of them are like, God, that's so weird, our roofer's letting us down now, we're looking for one, right place, right time. Then you've also got being on the website, you've just posted about an NHS project and somebody is like, oh my God, they just done one that's exactly like our project, right place, right time. The other idea that I kind of have when doing the old personal like business development is trying to find the right projects in the area. So I'll go into things like the planning portal or maybe just like LinkedIn posts and try and find an upcoming project with a developer, and then I'll go directly to them because I know they've got something within our area that's coming up. What's your opinion on doing it that way? It is a bit long-winded. Do you think that's probably not the best approach in terms of mass amounts of inquiries?
Well, to go off on a ramble a bit, when you're at home, you get leaflets for new restaurants, the old restaurant leafleting you again, window companies, charities, and if you're feeling in a charitable mood and the charity one turns up with a nice picture of a donkey on it, you might suddenly decide to do that. So that's right place, right time. And if there's a window company or a tree guy and you just happen to have tree problems because it's been windy, and you might give that guy a go, especially if his leaflet looks good and he's got Federation of Master Builders or something on there, one of those, arborealist qualifications. But if it looks like a really badly done one, you're just going to bin it. So it depends, right place, right time, and right image. I think in the past, builders used to go onto the planning portals, find all the people who had put in planning permission for a loft conversion and write letters to them, because you couldn't find their emails, obviously, and they'd write letters to them. And that worked up to a point, but again, it's like a 2% response rate. You have to send 100 letters to get one person. That only works if they've gone to your website too and you've got good case studies and that sort of thing. Because I think people are not silly enough to just phone someone and get them in from a letter. They'd want to do a bit more background research. People go into company's house and see if you're actually a director of the company you say you are and stuff like that before they're going to give you £70,000 of their money, I suppose, for a loft. But it does work as a first point of contact. So arguably, if you've got a portal you can go to and find these people, and you're not going to be the only one doing it, but you send them a good letter, it can't hurt, I think. And if they then see a post on LinkedIn later as well, because your logo's on the letterhead and your logo's on the post, then you're right, you've got correlation across your advertising. It's a marketing mix, isn't it? So have you got time? Is it what? So the thing is, if you're sitting there manually emailing loads of people, then you can automate that and then go and do the other stuff. That's the point. What can you delegate away using AI, using automation, using an agency, so you can do the stuff that they can't do, like finding the right man, turning up on a job, even whatever. It depends on your approach. Certainly, if there's if you're depends how big your firm is and how much budget they've got for marketing and whether you're actually being employed just to do the marketing. But certainly, if you're spending your time sitting down emailing people one at a time, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, no,
and you need a better email.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll be working on that. But I can't remember what it's called. Is it? I might be getting this wrong. Is it Beva? BEVA? So with that, you can send out like a big batch of emails from your email. I think it's maybe Bevu. I'm not sure, but they basically do that. Yeah. We
use at least 3 different platforms that do that. Some are better than others. Some are quicker than others. But what you have to be able to do is not send them from your own domain name. So if you're dndroofing.co.uk, you need to send it from a different domain name. So you need to set those up, and you have to buy quite a few of them to do it, because if you send them all from your domain name, eventually Google's just going to go, you're a spammer, and then your own emails don't work anymore. So the emails you need to send proposals to customers suddenly are blacklisted and they don't work anymore. So people make that mistake a lot by sending from their own address. You need what we're going to call pseudo addresses to send from. It's not cheating, it's just protecting yourself.
Right, with you. One thing that I'm asking everyone or every company who comes onto an episode is where you came up with the name of your company. Where was the inspiration behind that?
It's convoluted. A long time ago, we had a company that did Bluetooth marketing before smartphones, so we could send messages from a transmitter to mobile phones at festivals and stuff like that. This was before smartphones, which changed the world, obviously. And that started off being called Flycast Media because it was about fishing like that, not with a net, fishing. And also, and that became our marketing agency. So this was 2007, something like that, earlier. That became our marketing agency. And so we're called Flycast Media with our other marketing agency, which is a marketing agency that specialises in B2B financial space. And this is a play on words because it's lead generation by Flycast Media. That's why. So that's what we're. Bit of a long way of answering, but yeah, it's based on another name basically. So we've got correlation across both companies.
How important do you think the name is of a company? So, for example, D&D Roofing, who I work for, that is a overpopulated company name. Something that we've been having discussions on the past few weeks. So we get a few inquiries from people who are looking for the D&D roofing in Scotland. So they'll call up saying, "Can you come to our house? Here's our address." And we're like, "This miles away." Nothing to do with us. And we're thinking on the flip side of that, other companies might also be getting our inquiries, who might be converting them into quotes from their own. So how important do you think a company name is?
It can be. I mean, not very often, but maybe once every 3 months, we get a call from someone at a theatre asking for an acrobat of some sort or someone to help them do rope work. Because there is a company not too far away from us, I think they're called Fly Past, and they help people. They set up ropes for Peter Pan type stuff at theatre productions. So I'd say you've got the wrong company. It's not what we do. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, if you've got a weird name like us, D&D is obviously, there's lots of brothers and fathers and sons out there called something like that, SNS, J&J, isn't there? So, yeah, I suppose, but you have to choose a name that suits the marketplace. You can't suddenly call yourself some weird internet sounding name like Boo or Bomb or something like that, can you? Bomb. You have to choose a name that portrays reliability and a lot of those sorts of things. And if you're already fairly well known in the commercial industries of that, it's going to be difficult to change. But if you could think of, you know, some name that says Majestic, but Majestic Commercial, so, I mean, that's just off the top of my head, but something that portrays, you know, reliability like a bank does with its building. That's the sort of thing you need to do. We recently went through a rebranding exercise for what they'd say they were a catering butcher. I'd say they were a meat wholesaler. We spent a lot of time coming up with a brand. They kept the name IMS of Smithfield because Smithfield is where meat is famous for coming from in London. But we rebranded them with some very sort of Renaissance looking stuff to say, you know, they go back a long way, and it's to do with the Guild of Butchers and stuff like that. So we completely rebranded their logos and all their other marketing items, all their other assets, like that. They kept the name though. I think the name, because off Smithfield is quite important to them, but it made them hugely different because their logo before that was just a bad font, and it wasn't even a logo really, and it made a huge difference to how people felt about them. Even though most of their business was to schools and colleges, that's where they did most of the business. They weren't really a posh butchers, but making them come across like that made a huge difference to how those schools and colleges' potential customers felt about them. So one would argue D&D is not necessarily an issue, although the name is an issue. One would argue how well does that logo portray what you're trying to say? You know, that's the thing. Would you plaster it across a shirt and feel like it would be good enough to walk into a big business function? I don't know. It's subjective, but you know, I'd sit there and go, okay, if we want to deal with people like Kia, how do we brand ourselves in such a way that they're going to feel even safer using us? Because we're back to the motivation. Will I get sacked if I use this firm? That's the motivation for all these decisions. So all of the things you do should have that at front of mind first of all, I think.
No, absolutely. You've basically answered all my questions.
Good.
But do you think there's anything that I might have not touched on that you think might be worth mentioning, or maybe a few like final words you can give to anyone?
Well, I think if anybody's a medium-sized construction or home improvement company, most definitely the thing to start with is they've got to have a website. And we meet people that don't, or the website doesn't work on mobile phone, it's just out of date. People expect to see a good website. It's just standard now. People, if you don't have a good website, you've already lost the battle, because that's where they're going to end up. Whatever your marketing is, whether they just see you fly by on a van, they're going to end up seeing that. And if it's rubbish, then you're in a hiding. Everything else you do is a waste of time if the website is rubbish. So start there. I would say that paying the 1,700 quid for a van wrap can make a huge difference, because people see someone in their street. They see some white van with just a font sign on it. Well, at least they remember the name. They see a van wrap. I think that's a huge difference, because you're in my street a lot. You're in my area a lot. I've seen you around a lot. Do you know what? I'm going to give you a go. And if your website looks as good as a van wrap, then you've got two things that are winning. Then after that, you know, once you've done that, then you need to do your Google. You know, I'm doing myself out of money here by suggesting a van wrap before I suggest Google Ads. But certainly, I would a good website, a good van wrap in any industry. If you're solar, if you're a roofer, doesn't matter. A proper van wrap, not just the sign. And for sure, then you Google My Business after that, and then move on to marketing. Because if you haven't done those things, everything else is going to be harder.